Hello everyone, and welcome to another VOD review on theepicstorm.com. This past weekend, I played in the Legacy Showcase, and I kind of played to a mediocre 4-4 finish. That's not quite good enough to merit a whole review of the entire tournament, but I played a game that I thought was really interesting and showed off some of the concepts that I had written about, specifically figuring out what your opponent has based upon what they're doing, reading the story they're telling you with the cards that you're playing. In the event, I played a fairly stock main deck, and I tilted the sideboard to be a little bit better against the blue decks, playing back to the full 4 Carpet of Flowers, and cutting back on the Thoughtseizes. We expected a little bit less combo, a little bit less non-blue, a little bit more Delver. Nothing too complicated. So let's jump into the game. So it's round 1, game 1 of the tournament. First game I play. I believe I googled this person, and they most often played Delver. So this hand is a pretty easy keep against Delver. So despite not looking very fast, it's got a lot of lands. It's got protection against Stifle, got protection against Wasteland, especially because we're on the play and this Bloodstained Mire is guaranteed to resolve. And we have 2 action spells. Now this Wishclaw Talisman could turn into mana, it could turn into a Veil of Summer, it could turn into an Ad Nauseam depending on how the game plays out. We have because we have the 2 action spells, we get to make that modularity. So this hand's a pretty good keep. So we're going to ponder here, and keeping in mind, you always want to be pondering for something. You don't just want to be pondering for good cards. All the cards in the deck are good cards. That's why we put them there. Unfortunately, these aren't the cards we're looking for. We're looking for Veils of Summer. We're looking for Defense Grids. These are not those cards. So this is a pretty easy shuffle. And we get Moto Shufflebug, Mox Opal back in our hand. Oh well. So pass the turn. Opponent tries to juke us with this Woodwood Foothills, but in their second main they decide to show us what they are and play turn 1 Delver of Secrets. So we draw another Ponder, and we have an option here to try to play the Wishclaw Talisman playing into Daze, but given the way our hand is set up, we don't need to play into Daze right away. So we can just play our land and cast the Ponder. So I play the Swamp here to give our opponent fewer options if they have a Wasteland. They don't get to Wasteland our red source or our green source. They only get to Wasteland the Underground Sea that's in play. And this is kind of exactly what we're looking for. The Veil of Summer, the Echo, and now we know that our plan to win this game is to resolve Echo of Eons. This means that our life total no longer matters, and we get to play this game a little bit slower. As long as we're not literally dead, we can still have outs to win this game. So we're going to redraw the Brainstorm and play a pretty conservative game plan and feel out what they have more. So opponent puts their Delver trigger on the stack and reveals a Stifle. That's annoying. Stifle is one of the hardest cards for us to beat. It can counter this Wishclaw activation and time walk us a turn, hits the Storm trigger, and kind of the only answers to it we have are Burning Wish for Thoughtseize and Defense Grid. So opponent has a Ponder, which they choose not to shuffle. So they found what they believe to be at least one good card. We don't know if it's more yet because they haven't fetched with their Scalding Tarn. So now we get to untap and draw our Veil of Summer. So here's where I decide to play the Wishclaw Talisman. So we play it around Daze a little bit here. If they Daze, we just pay. If they force, it's actually kind of interesting if they force whether or not you're supposed to Veil. But that's not really the point of this. I think I would if they forced. Trading 2 for 3 is not bad, especially when we already have Burning Wish and we know that Echo is coming off the top. Excuse me. Opponent simply plays another land, hits us for 3, and we get to untap. So, we lit off on Brainstorm. There's not quite enough to go here. You could technically cast Veil into Echo here, searching for Lions of Diamond with Wishclaw Talisman, which this card turns out it's going to find mana this game. But we're not dying quickly, we have time, and we find just like one of the best cards in the deck in this Defense Grid. We really want to resolve this card, and so Veiling to Protect is definitely worth it. At this point, these 2 Burning Wishes don't do that much for us, so they're going to go back on top. So one of the reasons to think about going here, and by going I mean going off fully, is we don't really want to redraw either of those Burning Wishes. So if the game ends now, we effectively get to shuffle our Brainstorm. In the moment, doing this VOD review, I think it is correct to cast Dark Ritual and then Defense Grid. But in the game, I just cast the Defense Grid. I think I was thinking about taking more turns. So our opponent casts a Force of Will, and they pitch the Stifle. So what does that say? Stifle is one of the best cards against us. They have to know that. So this to me says that the rest of their hand isn't blue cards, or they're blue cards that are better than Stifle, which is maybe exactly Force of Negation. So we cast Veil of Summer here. And if this gets dazed, that's annoying, and that's one of the reasons why casting this Dark Ritual would have been really good, and in hindsight, it's a misplay. Spawn gets a fetch here. They fetch again. Makes a very confusing play. I thought they were tapping 2 mana for days in the moment, but they're petty thefting our Wishclaw Talisman. This to me didn't make sense. Why would you pitch Stifle over Brazen Borrower? Like, this isn't that good of an interaction, especially if I have mana up. This is almost the only window I was going to give you to do that. But that's what they chose to do. So either they made a play that didn't make any sense, like they also misplayed, or they have a plan. And I think they have a plan. Like, assuming your opponent is just playing cards at random isn't always the best. Or it's better to think your opponent has a plan. So what's their plan? So they daze the Veil, so that means that our grid isn't resolving. And then they bolt us. So we go to 10. And at this point, we're going to pass back to them. We know that they have 2 cards. They have the land and an unknown plus their draw step. So they replay their land and hit us for 3. We know we have a bad card on top, which is kind of unfortunate. Which is why casting the Dark Ritual was correct, because we drew this dead card. So now we have the question. Our opponent can hit us for 6 by playing the Brazen Borrower on the end step, untap, and attack. Do they have the second Lightning Bolt? Or do they have more counter magic? Again, what makes sense that they would pitch Stifle over Brazen Borrower? It's a Lightning Bolt. They have to have another Lightning Bolt to kill us, or another burn spell of some sort. There's been lots of various burn spells played in these Delver Shells recently. Otherwise, their plays don't make sense, and they could just be holding up Stifle right now, instead of having this Brazen Borrower sitting here awkwardly. So that means that this is go time, because we're dead next turn if we assume that they have the Lightning Bolt. I'm going to play Wishclaw Talisman, make it look a little bit innocent. Again, this exact sequence could probably have been done better. I was not very sure in the moment. Making decisions is hard. And again, now that we've given our opponent this talisman, we can't do something like go get Empty the Warrens with Burning Wish, and Thoughtseize is not really what you want to be doing, spending extra mana to take a card away from their hand and then giving them all those cards right back. And the mana is really important. So we cast our Echo. Moment of Truth. Opponent, what do you have? They had Lightning Bolt. This makes sense. All of their plays leading up to this point made sense. The opponent played with a coherent game plan, and it just happened that we were able to figure it out. They didn't really tell us this, per se, but all of their play actions told us that they thought that they could kill us faster than we might expect. So had we passed the turn, we just would have died. So we get Echo to resolve. I think the replay gets a little bit funky here. Magic Online's been having some issues lately. So I'm trying to make it go, but yeah. So the game ends. The Ponder found Wishclaw Talisman. They didn't have any more counter magic, so we won the game. So this is the exercise in why are your opponents playing their cards? They have as much of a reason for crafting their strategy as you do. And recognizing when your opponent is playing certain things means that you have to kind of react to that because you might get extra information about cards in their hand. So that's the game. If you guys liked this kind of deep dive into a single game, let me know in the comments. Please remember to like the video, subscribe, share, and thanks for watching.
Hey, Brian Cook here. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, but also follow the social media channels down below. If you want to support this content directly, I would recommend going to theepicstorm.com/shop. And if you need a little bit of assistance with the Epic Storm to get to that next level, I would recommend going to theepicstorm.com/tutoring. Don't worry, there's more great content coming right up.